My name is David Motley, and I would like to compliment AlphaGear, AlphaLab, and Innovation Works on a great lineup of talent and technology this morning. I'm really excited to have the privilege of introducing a company on whose board I serve, Forest Devices. I've had the opportunity to evaluate hundreds of early-stage companies, first in the corporate setting for two industry-leading companies, Respironics and Covidien, and now from the venture capital perspective as a co-founder of the Blue Tree Venture Fund. There are recurring themes for companies poised to be successful. Innovations protected with IP, poised to disrupt large markets, teams that get more done with fewer resources than anyone would have thought possible, led by compelling people who bring knowledge and passion to solve problems that matters. Forest Devices has these qualities. Forest Devices is advancing an exciting product that will save the lives or avoid debilitating complications for thousands of patients. It is my pleasure to introduce Matt Kesinger, CEO of Forest Devices.
Where's your emergency?
We need an ambulance.
What's the address?
300 Appaloosa Lane.
Okay, we'll get them on their way.
I remember taking these types of calls when I used to work as a medic on an ambulance. I remember feeling the rush and the reward of helping people in need. But I was always scared of making the wrong decisions, of making the wrong call, especially when it comes to stroke. Because, you see, stroke's the #4 leading cause of death in the US, but it's the #1 leading cause of disability, both here and in the rest of the world. 9 out of 10 people will live through a stroke, but 6 of those 9 will live with permanent disability. Just the sheer number of strokes that happen every year, it's likely that many or even most of us here in this room today have witnessed the devastating effects that a stroke can have on a family member or on a friend. But as a medic, the pressure is on, because the most important thing that you can do to prevent the disability that comes with a stroke is early detection and early treatment. A delay of even just a few minutes can change a person's life forever. Time is brain, but there's a big problem. We don't have an easy and objective way to identify stroke early outside of the hospital. I'll show you with something that happened to me during my first month on the job. A 60-year-old woman, she suddenly became weak and confused. So her husband called 911, and we arrived, and we knew that there were literally a dozen reasons why she could have these specific symptoms. So we did what we were supposed to do. We took her to the nearest hospital. She got a CT scan, and she was diagnosed with a stroke. But unfortunately, this was not a hospital that could treat stroke. So she had to be transported by helicopter to that stroke hospital. This needless delay cost her 2 hours of brain. It's the difference between being able to walk out of the hospital and go home, or never walking again, living in a nursing home. It's the difference between a single hospital bill and requiring expensive medical care every single day for the rest of her life. And this is not an uncommon story. 1 out of every 2 stroke patients, hundreds of thousands of people a year, go to the wrong hospital first. And it doesn't help that only 1 in 7 hospitals is a designated stroke center. And it's scary, but only 1 in 70 hospitals can provide all treatments for stroke all the time. So we have created AlphaStroke, the first line in stroke detection. With AlphaStroke, we don't waste time. And patients, they can get to the treatment that they need faster. And it's versatile enough and easy enough to use that we can detect stroke anywhere. saving the healthcare system tens of billions of dollars annually. So with just a few specially designed electrodes that are placed on easily accessible points on the head, the user just presses start, the test begins running, the test takes about a minute, and then there's a binary decision, either stroke or no stroke. Now, in the background, we're measuring brain waves and responses on both sides of the head, and that's because stroke is asymmetric. It only happens on one side of the brain. AlphaStroke works by rapidly identifying this asymmetry that is characteristic of stroke. And a lot of people want this rapid identification. To start with, the 50,000 nursing homes, urgent care centers, and emergency departments here, followed up with just over another 50,000 ambulances and medical helicopters. And that's in this country. In Canada, Australia, Europe, and Japan, the number is more than twice that. All told, we estimate an addressable market of over $3 billion. But there's more. On Friday, we're going to have kind of a celebration. It's going to be our birthday. It'll be a year since we incorporated. And during that time, we have been lucky enough to be able to build a lot of relationships with thought leaders and stakeholders from different parts of this field. And we've heard from them again and again that our technology also has specific applications in things like hospital monitoring, in stroke rehabilitation, and in stroke location data, which the insurance companies have told us are so valuable. But we're not the only ones trying to identify stroke earlier. This is a CT ambulance. It's also known as a mobile stroke unit. Its sole purpose is to identify and transport stroke patients. It costs $1 million to build, and it has to be operated by either physicians or nurse practitioners. So it's not cheap to get that CT scanner on that truck, but it still saves money. It's cost effective, and that's because stroke is so expensive. It is the most debilitating disease on Earth. So, if it's worth this much to identify stroke a little bit earlier, think about the value that we could bring if we could do the same thing with a few electrodes and this little device. And we could do it for less than 2% of the price. And it's easy enough to use that the medics on the trucks right now could use it. So, a year on Friday. We're so proud of the progress that we've made so far. Our team has been able to attract the capital and the talent that we needed to create a working device in less than a year. We have navigated the bureaucracy and the regulations in order to get clinical trials approved in multiple hospitals. And we have built relationships with other health systems from across the country because they see the value that Forest Devices can bring to them and to the people that they serve. This is the team that I have been so honored to work with over the last year, every day, day in and day out. We come from different backgrounds, and we have different expertise. I mean, I came here 5 years ago to go to medical school, but our team's expertise also includes electrical engineering, biomedical engineering, software engineering, healthcare management, and published research in stroke logistics. And we together are actually really humbled to be supported by the board and the advisors that we have. These are a group of people that have spent decades bringing disruptive medical devices to market. This is the team that is going to fundamentally change the way that we look at stroke. I'm Matthew Kesinger, and we are Forest Devices.